You ever feel like you're losing a war in your own backyard? Yeah, you're not alone. But what if the secret wasn't to fight harder, but to stop fighting altogether? We're about to dive into a whole new way of gardening, one inspired by centuries of Amish wisdom that swaps all that backbreaking labor for smart design. Let's get into it. So, I gotta ask you straight up, are you fighting the wrong war? I mean, you spend hours pulling weeds, your back is killing you, and just when you think you finally won, you step outside a couple days later, and they're back. It's just this frustrating, completely exhausting cycle. This quote just hits so hard, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that feeling of a battle that feels like it will never, ever end. The physical part is one thing, right? But it's that mental drain, seeing them pop right back up again and again, that really, really gets to you.
And that right there, that's what so many of us are stuck in. We can call it the unwinnable weed war. It's a strategy built on a complete misunderstanding of how nature actually works. You know, most of us were taught this exact thing. We see those super neat rows of bare-tilled soil, and we think, now that's the sign of a hardworking gardener. It looks clean, it looks organized, it feels like we're in control. But here's the big twist, the paradox of it all. That very act of tilling, of exposing the soil to make it clean, is exactly what invites the next wave of weeds. By trying to create a pristine garden, you are literally rolling out the red carpet for the exact problem you're trying to get rid of. So to understand why this happens, we have to completely reframe the situation. We need to stop seeing weeds as some kind of enemy invasion and start seeing them as nature's emergency response. And here is the absolute most important part of that emergency response idea. The enemy isn't the weeds. If you're constantly seeing them, it doesn't mean you're failing as a gardener. It just means you're watching nature do its job perfectly. Okay, so if the weeds aren't the problem, then what is? What are we actually supposed to be fighting here? The problem is the bare soil. Out in the natural world, bare soil is basically a wound, an injury on the skin of the earth. And what's nature's first response to a wound? It forms a scab to protect it. Well, those weeds you're fighting, they are nature's scab. They're the first responders rushing in to heal and cover that exposed ground. And this brings us right to the heart of the Amish philosophy. Instead of fighting nature's healing process, we just learn to work with it. The goal isn't to stop the response, it's to guide it where we want it to go. This is the fundamental rule you have to remember. Bare soil is a vacuum, an empty space that nature will always, always rush to fill. If you don't choose what covers the ground, nature is going to choose for you. And guess what it's going to choose? The fastest, toughest plants it has in its toolkit, weeds. So this means your whole role changes. You get to stop being a soldier, constantly reacting to every new invasion. Instead, you become an architect. Your job is to proactively design an environment where weeds simply don't have a chance to get started in the first place. So how do we actually become that garden architect? Well, it's not magic, it's a biological strategy, and it's built on 4 specific pillars that all work together to create a garden that pretty much takes care of itself. All right, here they are, the keys to the whole system. Number 1, never leave your soil naked. 2, start thinking of weeds as a resource. 3, create a living canopy with your plants. And 4, always, always maintain a strict no vacancy policy in your garden beds. Pillar 1 is the absolute foundation. See, every weed seed is basically a tiny little light sensor. When you till or leave soil bare, you expose all those seeds to light, and that flips the on switch for them to germinate. Mulch, and it can be anything from straw to leaves to grass clippings, acts like armor. It blocks 100% of the light and keeps that entire seed bank switched off. Pillar 2 asks us to unlearn a basic instinct. Just look at this chart. When we pull a weed, what happens? We disturb the soil, bring up new seeds, and the result is more weeds. But when we just snip a weed at the soil line, we leave the soil structure intact. The roots are left behind to decompose right where they are. They don't just vanish, they feed the soil life and create channels for air and water. So the end result isn't more weeds, it's healthier soil. You literally turn a problem into a resource. Pillars 3 and 4 are all about that no vacancy policy. You do this by creating a living canopy. You plant your vegetables just close enough so their leaves touch when they're mature. This forms a dense green ceiling that completely shades the ground.
And if a bed isn't growing food for you, you plant a cover crop, like clover. The goal is super simple. Occupy every single square inch of available space and light, leaving absolutely nothing for the weeds. Now, when you start putting these pillars into practice, the results you see go way beyond just having fewer weeds. You kickstart this amazing chain reaction of positive changes. This is the biological payoff. The very first thing you'll notice is this number. Your physical labor, all that time you spend weeding, hoeing, and fighting, can drop by as much as 90%. You're not working harder, you're working so much smarter. And the benefits just keep stacking on top of each other. You get healthier, richer soil that holds way more moisture, which means you're watering far less. You will see an absolute explosion in your earthworm population. They become your unpaid garden crew. Your veggies become more nutrient-dense because they're not fighting for resources anymore. Your garden starts to become a self-sustaining system, which leaves you with way more time to just, enjoy it. What's happening here is something called biological compounding. I mean, think about it. A conventional garden forces you to basically hit the reset button every single year. But with this system, you're making an investment. The soil gets richer, the ecosystem gets stronger, and your garden becomes more efficient and more resilient with every single season. It literally gets better all by itself over time. So the ultimate takeaway is this. The problem was never the weeds. It was the empty space you were giving them. If you design your garden so that it's full, shaded, and covered, you completely eliminate the conditions for war in the first place. You'll find there's simply no battle left